To hear your baby is never going to walk, and then for your baby to be taking 8 to 10 steps, talk about a win. We waited until our first appointment with the neurologist. So when we spoke to the neurologist, you know, he was just so hopeful. So, you know, he was pretty good about, you know, explaining everything to us. He checked him out and he was just like, you know, he does feel like there was that first appointment was terrible because we were late for one. Then our insurance didn't approve the visit because they were waiting on some pre-authorization thing. So we really didn't get to see him, but he was like, I have to see him. So he came out to the lobby, which was very good. Came to the lobby and he just basically tapped his knee just to kind of see if he had reflexes and stuff like that. And he was like, well, his muscle tone is starting to, you know, be weak at this moment. I think my son is about 3 weeks at this time. And he was like, we need to get him in here because time is of the essence with this disease. Now, at this point, I'm still like, they got the wrong baby. Like, with everything that they're telling me, I'm like, this is not the right baby. I still need a confirmation, you know, test to show that this is my child. I waited. It was issues getting the blood from him. People came to the house to draw blood so that we could get the verification test. And just nobody could get his blood. So finally we went to his pediatrician like, hey, can we get this blood drawn because time is of the essence. At this point in time, I'm like, okay, doc, go ahead and do what you have to do. So there's 2 treatments. There's one that's called Zolgensma, and that is a gene therapy that basically like stops the progression of the disease. So then there's Spinraza, which is basically, at the time it was Spinraza. There's another treatment right now, which is the oral drugs, but at the time it was Spinraza because the oral drugs wasn't approved by the FDA yet. So Spinraza, and the doctor was just like, you know, let's go ahead and start him on Spinraza before all the other results come out. That way we can, you know, get his muscles stronger and we can kind of slow down the progression of the disease. So I'm like, at this point, I'm like, all right, let's do that. Everybody in our family is just like, no, wait for the test because this is crazy. We don't have nobody in our families like that. Of course, you already know how Black folks are. They like, we need to know. And I was just like, all right, but I'm looking at my baby right now and he's not as strong as he was whenever he got out the hospital. At this point, he can hardly move his head to the left, hardly move his head to the right. He can, you know, he's barely moving. And I was just like, this is not my baby. Like, when you pick him up, he feels like a little floppy dog. Like, he's just like limp. When he was born, he was firm, head up, like, you know, muscles on him and everything. He's starting to grow weak. He's losing all his little weight he was gaining. I was like, oh no. So at this point, I had did a couple tests at the neurologist's office, and then we did the verification test. The results from the doctor was just basically trying to see if, because in the Zolgensma, it has what is called a virus that they put the gene in, and then, you know, they insert it into the child. I think it's called AV something. Research it. So it's a virus that they put, and they just want to make sure that your child doesn't have any of that virus on their antibodies, because if they do have the antibodies, then Zolgensma is not gonna work for them. So of course I was just like, okay. So I was breastfeeding him, which the doctor said was fine. Keep breastfeeding. That's the best thing for him at this point. So I was like, okay, cool. I kept doing that. And then the results came back saying that he was good. He doesn't have that virus in his system, so he's good for Zolgensma. All, you know, he's dotting all the I's, crossing all the T's. Came back and said that he has the worst form of SMA. Actually, no, the second worst, because type O is the worst one. That one is when you basically have it in mom's womb and baby come out, need an intervention like ASAP, like respiratory ASAP. He, of course, he has type 1, but normally when you have the babies with type 1, it takes them literally about a day or 2 to start showing symptoms with their hands and stuff like that. For him, he wasn't showing anything until like maybe 4 weeks. He started to like lose a little bit of I started noticing in his breathing pattern, he started to, like, he was, you know, trying to struggle to breathe. And SMA, like, it attacks your respiratory system. So this is why time is of the essence, because the muscles are basically breaking down into your body. You know, without intervention, these children are wheelchair bound. Some of them don't live past 2 months old. Some of them, you know, like, they don't walk. So of course, with this new therapy, gene therapy, I'm like, they're saying that there's a possibility he could walk. And I was just like, what? Okay, I'm liking the sound of this. We need to get it ASAP. So of course, my insurance came through with the win, and of course I was happy about that. So they approved the drug. The drug is called Zolgensma. At the time it was $2.4 million, and I'm pretty sure it's more expensive now. I'm not really sure, but it was $2.4 million. They approved the drug. The company that supplied us was Biogen. They supplied us with the medication, and of course we'll have, like, I'll try to put some clips in when he actually got dosed. So it's basically one vial that costs $2 million gene therapy, and he got that at 6 weeks old. They did a article for him because he was the first baby in Florida to be diagnosed with SMA under the newborn screening. So if you look up first baby diagnosed SMA Florida, you're gonna see his article pop up. You're gonna see me in there looking all tired, because I was, and his doctor is in there too. So we have to drive like an hour. We were driving like an hour every week to see his neurologist. We were, it was just a lot going on, but the Zolgensma slowed down the progression of the disease, or, so then we waited for a minute, and he was making all his milestones. Of course, if they said that between 3 and 6 months, your baby should be sitting up, right? He was at the tail end, like the 6 months, then he was sitting up. Like, it wasn't like in between. So it was like the tail end of every single milestone he met, the milestone at the ending. Of course, we're just grateful because, man, I tell you, it's been a minute. So after a while, in April 2021, actually January 2021, I spoke to his doctor. I said, okay, I understand that he's meeting his milestones, but they're to the tail end of everything. There's no real chart for babies with SMA that receive Zolgensma, because this is a new drug. There is no real growth chart or, developmental chart for these kids. So they're just winging it. They're going off of the actual chart with babies that are not affected by SMA. And it's crazy. So my son is basically like a baseline right now with all the kids that they're treating, right now. So they're going off of his chart and stuff. So in January, I was like, hey, he's meeting his milestones towards the tail end of everything. I want to make sure that he's getting it at least the beginning or the midway. So I was like, is there another drug that we can use to, to go with what already, he has in his system? So the doctor was like, you know what, if by April time frame he is not crawling, then we're gonna go ahead and start the other drug. I want to say it was probably March, I'm not sure. So then March came around, he's not crawling, he hates tummy time still, and he just don't want to do it, and he just ain't got the strength. It's just a mixture of all of that. So the doctor was just kind of like, let's start him on Spinraza. So I said, okay, cool. The insurance, of course, approved it. That one of the stipulations was that he had to not meet his timeline for them to go ahead and give us the Spinraza. So we got the Spinraza. He's been on that now. So he's been on Spinraza going on a year now. He turns 2 in May, and he is just taking about 8 to 10 steps trying to walk. To hear your baby is never going to walk, and then for your baby to be taking 8 to 10 steps, talk about a win. Talk about, listen, Jehovah Jireh, baby. Talk about Jehovah Nisi. Listen, when I tell you, I don't know who you believe in, Allah, Buddha, whoever, but when I tell you I believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, y'all don't understand. Like, my son out here beating the odds. Like, I am just taken aback. Like, his strength is just what keeps me going, because his determination to walk is just everything. Now, you hold his hands and you walk with him, he'll walk for a long time. But you let go, he'll take 8 to 10 steps, and then he'll kind of stop and just look for you to kind of like, yeah, come hold my hand, get me through this. So, he's just so brave. Like, he's been poked, prodded more than enough times. Like, it's unimaginable what drugs, medicine, all that stuff can do to just help you to achieve greatness and to give you an actual opportunity to a normal life. I'm just really grateful for that. And I just came on here to make this video to bring awareness to these things, you know, especially in the Black community. We sit there and we're kind of like, all right, well, you see stuff wrong with your kids, or you know, you have the instincts as a parent to figure out that something is not right, and you take them to the doctor. Like, it costs, I mean, it might cost you depending on the insurance that you have, but the long-term effects is, you know, like way better than you just sitting there and just letting it continue to fester. So now, you know, I'm just glad that he's doing so much better. But I'm telling you, like, if I was to sit down and do this whole thing almost 2 years ago when I brought him home, I wouldn't have made it through halfway of this video. But I'm just here to say that there's treatment out there to help these kids, you know, with spinal muscular atrophy. I said he had type 1. So type 1 babies are not prone to walk at all. Like, 0. You know, and he is walking. When I bring him to the hospital for any reason, or, you know, just doctors period, and you know, they ask you like, what's your medical history, and I put on their SMA, they all look at me like, stop lying, like, you just out here just lying on your son. And I'm just like, he has SMA. That was like, but he has no respiratory issues. He's sitting up, he's walking, he's doing what he needs to do, like he's babbling, he's doing all these things. And I'm just like, yeah, that's the power of God and medicine, you know, working together, God and science working together. But I'm just extremely grateful for it, and you know, for our support, because this was not easy. Like, my dad, oh my God, he broke down. You know, Jay ended up, you know, breaking down with his family. Like, you know, he told them before I even told mine. I'm like, whoa, I thought you was gonna wait till we get some more information. But, you know, he just went over there and he just started sobbing, and it was like, what happened? And then he told them the whole situation. And just, you know, everyone in our family just been helping us and trying to help us to get through it. You know, there was a lot of things that we found out in our family, like different people having different, you know, like disability and stuff like that. And just seeing them, like, we would have never thought. They were like, yeah, like this one have this one have that. And I'm just like, wow, like, you know, it was just a different type of bond. And just, I'm just extremely grateful for like our support system and all the people who's been there for us to kind of, you know, help us get through the whole thing. If you ever have questions on SMA, or whether your child has SMA, you know, of course, inbox me, DM me, and I'll be okay to answer questions. Even about my son, you know, there's a lot of things that I didn't go over in this video because I didn't want it to be too long, but there's a lot that goes into it. And so if you want to know more about it, you know, reach out. All right, bye.